This chase started in Fort Lauderdale in the area of Broward Boulevard and about 3rd or 4th Avenue. I believe it was on the east side, came westbound on Broward Boulevard, then northbound up on Sunrise.
There is a large response there from the Broward County Sheriff's Office as deputies look for the gunman. Investigators are not clear whether there is any connection between the victims and the shooter.
Immediately responded over here. We have not yet gotten a reference on why they are pursuing
right
this
now, a
vehicle.
police pursuit in Broward County. Dramatic images coming into the newsroom.
Surveillance cameras at the West Star gas station on the corner of Broward Boulevard and Northwest 7th Avenue capturing the moment a man is shot and killed on Christmas Day. Fort Lauderdale police said the suspect waited for the victim to arrive before gunning him down.
Of I-95 north of Sunrise, the next road that goes east and west there, and the intersected got onto the I and onto the ramp there, and it's now northbound. I'm looking out my window here just to catch my breath here and to look at the Cypress Creek there. Correct. On that inside breakdown line, that's exactly correct. Just going past Cypress Creek Road here, northbound during rush hour, or just a preview of rush hour traffic.
You know, there's stories out there about dudes turning from bad into good. Stories of redemption. About being lost, then being found. You know, you got like Ebenezer Scrooge, that in the beginning he was like bah humbug, but then at the end he's like Merry Christmas to all. You got dudes like the Grinch that stole Christmas, who was a Grinch, but at the end his heart grew 3 sizes. Then you got my homeboy, now I mean, I'm a Star Wars fan, Anakin Skywalker, who became Darth Vader, the villain of the whole universe, but left the dark side, all thanks to his son. Them stories are good and all, but at the end they're all fiction. Visions of bards and gleemen, reflections of reality to inform our humanity. But this one right here is for real. Come to think about it, I don't got no bad memories of the original neighborhood. Aurora, Illinois. I say Chicago when I preach, but nobody knows where Aurora is. That's why I say Chicago. But everything was close by, man. We had my things bodega over there. We got stuff fee out, you know what I'm saying? It's like my mom couldn't afford to get groceries, so the dude would write our names in a book and we would get groceries for free until my dad can pay up. We had my school right across the street, Oak Park. It was the land of the innocents, to be honest. But the reaper came in sunshine. Paradise lost, if you will. A life I'll never know. Come to think about it, maybe God knew it was for the best. I grew up in a bad neighborhood. It wasn't exactly the PJs, but like Ice Cube said in one of his songs, I call my neighborhood a ghetto because it houses minorities. Still, every stereotypical thing that you see in hood movies, we had it on my block. There was drugs, drug dealers, cops, robbers, hookers. Sometimes in my neighborhood, they would barricade the street with toilet paper, right? And then the cars would stop by, and the boys in my hood, they would snatch the white people from the car and start beating them up and rob the car. Even police officers got hit, and because they would come and investigate, and brothers in the hood would throw rocks at the police cars. True story. Some people say it takes a village to raise a child, but I grew up with street corner kids, man. I was raised by banditos and hooligans. My dad was always working, you know? Speaking of banditos, I became a thief. I was a robber. I know you're looking at me like, how does Willy fit into the windows? But yo, if Santa can fit down the chimney, I got this, know what I mean? Man, once I robbed from my own mama. She gave me the money to go pay the rent. I never paid the rent, man. I went and bought Nintendo cartridges. What? I bought some sneakers. I went and I bought some wine. I used to drink. I was a wino. But I robbed from a mentally disturbed lady. She had like a collection cup. I forgot what it was for, man, but it was for the needy, for the mentally challenged, and I stole like $350 from her. I didn't care. She was crying. One time, I even stole from my best friend, man. My best friend invited me to dinner, right? I went to his house, then I asked to use the bathroom. I said, can I use the bathroom? And went into the bathroom and unlocked the window. Next morning, when everybody was at work and school, bam, I came with a U-Haul truck and I robbed my homeboy's house, man. Their wedding ring, everything. I didn't care about nothing. I was always insecure and fat, you know. I was always the last one to get picked in any teams. I hated myself, man, you know. Nobody wanted to pick me in school. I was bullied because I was short and fat. I was always the catcher when we were playing baseball. For both teams, that's when you know you're sorry. I felt like that. I felt not loved, you know. So I got my love from the banditos and the street corner kids, you know what I'm saying? That's why I felt love. Papi was always working. God bless him. He's a man of God, man, and a family man and a good father. But even he had a gangster state of mind when he was younger. My dad would shoot bullets at random cars, right? One time, him and his boy Toribio, they went to a Pentecostal church, right? And they over there singing, Manda fuego, Señor, manda fuego. That means, send fire from above, Lord. And my dad and his boy, they literally set a curtain on fire from the church, and the church burned down. That's my father now, I mean. It's in the blood. I was always insecure. I hated myself. I hated everybody. They would call me fat. Catch him off guard with a right hook, you know what I'm saying? I hit an 8-year-old kid with a baseball bat. 8-year-old kid with a baseball bat. I split his head open because he called me fat. One time, I was fighting this dude named Papu, man. Mexican brother. You know, when Mexicans, man, they got like boxing in their blood, man. They grow up fighting, you know what I'm saying? They're tough, know what I mean? They're like Julio Cesar Chavez, you know? And I was fighting this dude. I'm up from the streets, and I'm fighting this dude. I'm throwing right hooks, try to catch him with a 1-2 combo. I even cocked my fist back and try to catch him with an, like that. But I was missing, man. I was missing. Finally, I'm like, I'm losing this fight. Everybody was watching, right? I'm losing this fight. So what I did is, because I was heavy duty, I speared him. Boom. I threw my whole self. I lunged at him like a runaway train. Boom. Caught him. Hit him in his chest. He fell on the ground. And then I bit his cheek off. That's my word. I bit his cheek off. I was walking down the neighborhood with somebody's cheek dangling from my mouth. Reminds me of like when David killed Goliath. The Bible says that he was walking with the giant's head all over from city to city. Man, that was me. I went to the movie theaters alone, right? I went to the movie theaters alone and I seen rival gang members, right? There was 5 of them. And I'm at the movies because at that time, the movies was an escape for me. You know, everything was going wrong. I'm from the hood. We grew up in poverty, cockroaches everywhere in my house, rats. And you know what I'm saying? So one time I got paid from Burger King. I worked at Burger King. That explains a lot, right? I went and I treated myself out to the movies, and then I saw the rival gang members. There was 5 of them, different color from mine. There were some Girl Scouts. They were right there, right? Girl Scouts were selling brownies and cupcakes. So I didn't have that much money, so I just had enough for a little bit of popcorn and not for the brownie, for the movie tickets. So I went inside, I saw the 5 gang members, and they started throwing up their gang signs, right? And I had a name my set. Now, I mean, I had to throw up my set. So I'm throwing my set up. I look cool when I do it, right? Because I'm like boom, 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 bah. But when they did it, right, they look like nerds, right? They look like the zombies from the video Thriller from Michael Jackson's joint. I sat in front of the movie theaters on purpose, street knowledge. Why? Because I sat in front. If the 5 rival gang members wanted to do something, I got all these witnesses, you know what I'm saying? So I did it on purpose. Usually I sit all the way in the back or in the middle. But before I went inside, I peeked to see what they were up to, and they were buying cupcakes and brownies from the Girl Scouts. So I sat down, boom, I saw them buying. 1 hour into the movie, 1 hour in, I get hit in the head with a cupcake. One of the 5 gang members hit me in the head with a cupcake. It went blow. Now, I mean, it stuck me, and I heard him laughing, and I'm like, oh man, I can't let this slide. Even if I have to die tonight, I can't let this slide, because they were grooming me to be one of the leaders of one of the biggest gangs in South Florida. We were in police gang files and everything. Our gang was big. If I would tell you the name, man, you'll know it, but I don't think Satan deserves any more credit than what I'm giving him already. So anyways, I got up, right? 5 dudes hit me in the head. Boom, I went up to dudes, and I said, what's up, man? And I threw up the set, right? I went, blah. And I said, which one of you guys hit me? They didn't want to say nothing, right? They were all scared. Which one of you guys hit me? No one said nothing. So you know what I did? This is how crazy I was. I walked up to those 5 dudes, and I said, which one of you guys slapped me? No one said nothing, so you know what I did? Bam! Bam! I slapped all 5 of them. Whack! 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 Not because I'm hard, but how dare you waste a perfectly good cupcake? I was hitting rock bottom. Now, I mean, I got kicked out of school. I went to Coconut Creek High for fighting. We had like a big rumble in the school. I was kicked out of all my jobs for fighting. And then eventually my mom's kicked me out. I was homeless. Imagine me homeless, right? Underneath a bridge with a brown paper sign talking about I will work for a lot of food. I remember that night when my mom's kicked me out, man. It breaks my heart. You can tell how Satan had me, now I mean, it was like I was possessed by or influenced by demons. My mom told me that she wants me out the house, now I mean, because I used to go in the house and it was rap music this and rap music that. It wasn't even positive. It wasn't Toby Mac or Ambassador or Lecrae. Nah, it was the NWA, Ice-T, Snoop Doggy Dogg, now I mean, Dre, curse words after curse words and calling the girls B words. I got 5 sisters I'm talking about. The girls are all B's, you know, and my mom's. But I ain't care no more, man. It was like, to be honest, the music just got me, blah, and then the street life, blah, blah, you know, Satan knew where to hit me. It was like he wasn't even throwing jabs. He was throwing all knockout blows. My mom said, I want you out the house. I got more kids. I gotta think about them, you know, one rotten apple spoils the whole bunch. At the time, I'm like, I'm not gonna leave the house. What you talking about? Now, I thought I was all cool, now I mean, and I said, because I paid half the rent at the time. I got so mad, man. I was just mad. I don't even think I was drunk. It was just anger. I bought my mom this thing from Walmart. It was a plaque that says, World's Greatest Mom. She put it up on the wall, man. That was her prized possession, right? She would show everybody. My son gave me that. And I got so mad that day when she tried to kick me out, man, that I took the frame and I smashed it on her feet. And her little feet had cuts on it, little nails, and it exploded with glass. She said, you need to get out of here. You need to leave. You need to leave. I said, I'm not going nowhere. I already told you. My sister said, I'm gonna call the cops because she saw I was cursing. I was cursing out my mama. My dad was at work. So I started cursing out at my mom, and my mom said, vete de aquí. And my sister said, I'm gonna call the cops because I was just trying to abuse my mom with lyrics, with my words. As my mom was kicking me out, that again, I went like this. And with my hand, I smacked my mother. In the movie Goodfellas, when Ray Liotta's character, Henry Hill, says, as far as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster. That was me. As far as I remembered, I always wanted to be a mobster. I wanted to be the next John Gotti, or in Spanish, we got like Toño Bicicleta or Pedro Navaja. I wanted to be an urban legend, a hoodlum like that. I never wanted to be a pastor, evangelist, preacher, teacher, doctor. I wanted to be a hood. So my mom was a little hood too, right? She's not like those new school moms that tell little Tommy, you're going on timeout. Nah, we didn't have no timeout back in the day. We had lights out. Whack! You know what I'm saying? Mom would knock you out. Mike Tyson punch out. My mom would hit me after every syllable with a goblet, with a cable, with a phone cord. After every syllable talking about why you little gangster, she'll make up a word just to hit me more. Hooligan, you hit me 3 times. In the Spanish community, we got this thing when we were young. Your parents would send you outside to go get a switch, right? Go get a tree branch. Blam, you get a tree branch. You take off all the leaves except 2 or 3 in the tip. And my mom would whip me with that. Why? Man, I would have, for real though, I would have scars, man, of my mom hitting me. Instant jailhouse tattoos. It was like from the whips. And nowadays, moms don't hit kids. You know, kids would be like, if you hit me, I'm gonna call the cops. My mom's like, yeah, call the cops, but I'm gonna shank you before you get here. If I'm gonna do time, it's because I murdered you. One time I had like a big print and my homeboys were like, yo, you got a new tattoo? Nah, I ain't got no tattoo. That says size 4, Walmart. That's my mom's chancleta, right? That was my mom's slippers. She would hit me hard. She didn't play no mess, but at that time I overpowered her when I slapped her and she fell to the ground. My sister was crying. I had to run away because I knew my dad was gonna come home from work. And later on, I found out that my dad said if I was there, I would have killed you. It's funny, right? Because my dad never said I love you to me or to my brother. We would hear him say I love you to my sisters, you know, to the girls. But he never said I love you to me or my brother. I always longed to hear him say that. He didn't say I love you, but he said I would have killed you. That messed me up even more than stab wounds. But I dropped my mom to the ground and she's on the floor. And then, because sin only upgrades, right? You know, it starts off with a red cup at a party and then now you an alcoholic. Or it starts off, you know, with one condom and now you're a player. As my mom was on the ground, I grabbed her by the hair, right? And she's crying, right? I grabbed her by the hair and I dragged her like a caveman. I dragged her by the hair all the way to the bathroom, man. And my mom is hitting on me, right? She's saying, reprende Satanás, reprende Satanás. That means I rebuke you, Satan, in the name of Jesus, because she knew it was a spiritual battle, man. She knew it wasn't her little Willy, you know? And I started laughing, but it got me more mad, to be honest. It got me more mad. And as I dragged her from the living room to the bathroom, my homeboys, man, they came in because they heard someone screaming. And what you doing? my name was Crash because I crashed like 7 cars. What you doing, Crash? What you doing, Crash? Yo, man, I just hit my mom. And they started laughing. Boys in the hood started laughing. Instead of telling me, yo, man, that's your mom's, man, you're doing wrong. They were laughing. It was demons laughing. I tell the youth, man, if your friend doesn't rebuke you when you're doing wrong, that's not a friend, man. You need a friend to say, hey, man, you're slipping. They see a picture on the gram and you acting a fool, you smoke. A friend would say, yo, chill, man, chill, you a Christian. Even though I wasn't a Christian, but that's like the unwritten rule. You're not supposed to hit your mamas or curse them out. But then when my friends were there, right, I started showing off. Man, I'm gonna be the first one to tell you that I deserve to die every single time that Satan wanted to kill me. I deserve it. I deserve hell. But God promised me heaven instead. I ain't a dumb brother. I'm gonna take it, man. I'm gonna run with it. But my mom is in the bathroom and I take off my pants. And show my mom my backside. I moon my mother, my mom. Mi little viejita, ¿verdad? I ran away, you know, I was homeless. Sometimes I would go to the stores and steal deodorant. I didn't have no money. Steal food, sleep under a bridge. Check this out. One time I was sleeping and next morning I wake up and I got $5 in my pocket. I had the Dickies, the button-ups, and I had $5 in my pocket and I'm like, whoa, $5. And I'm thinking, man, it's my angel, my guardian angel. God still loves me. And it turned out that almost every day somebody would leave $5. It wasn't an angel. And one day I woke up while they were putting the $5 and dude was running away and it was a fat dude. And I'm like, man, my guardian angel is fat. How much manna are you eating? But it wasn't an angel, it was my brother. He loved me so much, man, that he was still checking open on me, you know what I mean? My brother was kicked out of church. Even though the church shunned him, God's a good heart, man, and he would give me his tithes and offerings so I can put it in the collection plate because he didn't want to go to church. But my brother, the one that the church kicked out, used to put $5 inside my pocket when I was homeless. Then he tells my mom, he says, yo, Ma, Will is sleeping under a bridge, you know? It doesn't look like him and he's losing weight. My mom's like, that's good, he gotta lose weight. And he said, give him a chance. And I wanted to come back home, to be honest, because I was feeding for my mom's beans and rice. Now, I mean, like, I wanted to get my mom's food. And she said, I'm going to give him a chance. To make the long story short, she says, I'm going to give him a chance. She talked it over with my Pop Dukes. And Pop says, yeah, man, but they set the rules. My mom says, you can come back, but you got to respect. No curse words, no F-bombs, no rap music, No rap music here in this house, no gangster rap. Respect your sisters, and you gotta respect the Sabbath. You gotta come to church with me. She said, you got rules, and I said, I bet. I came back home. I was hated by family members, you know. I once strangled a person in my mom's party. My mom had a party, right? And I strangled them, and I can feel their veins coming out their neck, man, because they wanted to mock me and gave me a pizza that fell on the floor or something like that. And they knew that I was the black sheep of the family. And they were all in the corner mocking me, and they gave me this pizza. When I found out that they were mocking me, man, I almost killed them. Everybody hated me. I hated myself. So even though I was back at home, I'm like, nah, man, I hate my life. Because now I'm sleeping in the living room, in the airbed. In the airbed, right? Listen, I know some people that are 140 pounds, right? They sleep in the airbed. The next morning, they gotta repump it because it's flat. Skinny dudes. Imagine someone weighing 490 pounds or 500 pounds. That bed's gonna be flat every morning, every night. I'm sleeping there now, man. I had Cadillacs, right? I met Jennifer Lopez, met Al Pacino, did movies. And here I am, sleeping on the floor. Hit rock bottom, and Now I'm sleeping on the floor in a popped airbed. So one night, Satan got me, man. Satan got me. And he was whispering in my ear. And Satan was like, you're a loser. You're a fat loser. I read a book, and it's called Desire of Ages. And in it, the author writes, when John the Baptist was in jail, before they beheaded him, he would hear the words and the voices of demons. Made him doubt God. And I'm doubting God because my mom raised me a Christian, and I'm a Christian boy, and my mom raised me that. And I believe everything that she taught me. My mom don't know how to read. My mom don't know how to write. My mom don't know how to drive. The only thing she can write is the name of all her kids: Silvia, Joyce, Pedro, Nidia, Janet, William, Awilda. She could write God, she could write Jesus, she can't write the Holy Spirit, it's too long. And it sounds like a joke, and everybody in my hood would say, man, your mom is stupid. My mom's not stupid, man. She was smart enough to introduce me to a Jewish carpenter named Jesus, and because of her, I'm saved. But at that time, I was like, nah, man, everything she taught me is bull. That's all junk, man. Jesus, man. My mom said that Jesus died Friday night but resurrected Sunday morning, and I believed it. I believed it. My mom said that little David killed a giant with a rock. I believed it. My mom said that Moses just freed the Israelite, and 2 million people walked on dry land where there's supposed to be water and sharks and whales, and I believed it. But now I'm having trouble to believe that God loves me. I know he loves goody two-shoes. I know he loves my mama. But me, you know, it's almost weird nowadays, right? Because the Bible says, love your neighbors like you love yourself. I don't know if that can apply anymore. You know why? Because nobody loves themselves no more. Of course I'm gonna hate my neighbor. Of course I'm gonna be racist. You know what I'm saying? It's like, love your neighbor like you love yourself. I hate myself. I hated everybody. So I hated myself. I hated my family. I hated all my friends. I felt like they abandoned me. One of my homeboys, Casper, went to the Marines, and my other boy, Crucial, went to the Marines too. We were the tightest. And I felt alone. Then I hated God. You know, I hated God because look at me. Look how fat I am. Why? You know, but we always blame God, but God never told me to eat 2 double Whoppers and supersize the fries with a big drink. I hated God, and once you hate God, where's the hope? I mean, you hate the only guy, or you hate love incarnate. You hate the word love. You substitute it for hate. There's no one that can help you. Now you're doubting if God really does exist. So I'm like, you know what? Forget this, man. I got no high school diploma, got no girlfriend, sleeping on the floor, got no money in the bank, scars everywhere. It's like I'm living in a shell of my past self. So I'm like, you know what? Nah, I'm gonna do it, man. Forget this. I give up, man. I give up. The devil put the thought in my mind. In my dad's room, there's a gun. End it all. Finish it. You're a fat loser. You're never gonna amount to nobody, nothing. No one's gonna love you. You don't love yourself. I walked into the room and I can hear my dad snoring, but I went to the closet and took the Nike shoebox. He had a 38 special. Maybe it was a deuce. It was a small gun. I was walking outside. I'm like, I'm gonna go outside because across the street from my house, there's this big church with an old rugged cross on it. A big cross. You can see it from across the street. But it's like plastered right next to the door. I'm like, I'm gonna talk to God. And I'm gonna tell him to give me a sign, you know, like Gideon, he wanted a sign. I'm gonna ask God to give me a sign. If he doesn't give me a sign, man, I'm gonna take this gun and I'm gonna blast myself, man. I'm gonna kill myself. And as I walked outside, my mom comes and she hears me crying and sobbing, and she hugs me. She's like, where you going? And she's hugging me, but my mom's not hugging me. She's street smart. She's like, this brother took the gun, right? So she's like, I'm like, Mom, get off me. Man, I made that woman suffer so much. She said, what are you gonna do? I'm like, Ma, just pray for me, I said. God, you taught me about, man, he don't exist. No diga eso, she says, don't say that. I'm like, just pray for me. So I walk away. She goes inside the house, and from outside, I can see her silhouette from her window, and boom, again, she kneels down. Then I go and look at the cross, and it's like an awkward Mexican standoff. It's me versus the cross. And I said, God, what's up? Are you for real? Do you love me for real? You love me? And I'm looking in the skies, and I'm like looking at the cross, and I'm like, God, if you love me for real, you gotta make, listen, one of these street lights to turn off. Give me a sign, man. Let me know that you love me. I'm gonna give you 10 seconds. I didn't know that you exist. If you don't give me a sign, man, watch. I'm gonna go back home and I'm gonna blast myself. I'm gonna get the gun. Listen. You got 10 seconds. And I start counting. I say, 1, 2, skip a few, 8, 9, 9 3/4, 10. 10. The silence of heaven, you can't hear nothing. I remember looking at the street like, God, turn it off, please. 10. I can imagine the demons in hell laughing. I went back home. Peeked in my mom's room, and sure enough, this time she was sleeping on the bed. She fell asleep. I don't know how long I was outside wrestling with God, wrestling with myself, but I was exhausted, man. I was drained, you know, just lifeless. Lifeless, like someone zapped away all my powers to think, power to love. I went, closed the door, sat on the couch, put the gun here, and I cocked the hammer back. I'm thinking to myself, man, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna kill myself. I felt hopeless, now, man. Of course, I couldn't see past tomorrow, but now I know that the just should live by faith. But I didn't have faith. I had no hope. There was no God. Then I put it right here. And then I put the gun right here in my heart. Because I didn't want to blow off my head and have my mom hear the noise and run out and see my brain splattered all over the wall. I know that sounds graphic, man, but that's what I was thinking. I'm crying. I'm hearing demons talking about, do it, you fat loser. You're never gonna amount to nothing. Remember, you're fat, man. Nobody loves you. Then I put the gun in my mouth. I can't. I put a gun in my mouth. I was gonna end. I put a gun in my mouth, man. Now I think about it, man, if I would've did it, imagine if I would've did it. First of all, I'm calling myself God by taking my own life. I'm stealing because I'm robbing my mom from a son, or my life that doesn't belong to me anyways. Pac said in one of his songs, he said, I wonder if heaven got a ghetto. No, if I can talk to him. Tupac, no. If I could have talked to him. Heaven don't got no ghetto. There's mansions and streets of gold. This is my word. This is for real. I was so tired. I fell asleep with the gun in my mouth. Listen, I've been to places where my homeboy would put a gun on the table, on the coffee table, in the living room, and nobody's touching the gun and the gun goes off. Blah! I had a gun in my mouth for 8 hours. For 8 hours, and it never went bang. I'm pretty sure all hell wanted to pull that trigger. But then the next morning, somebody knocks on the door. You know, that's why the Bible says sleeping may last for the night, but joy comes in the AM. You know what I mean? Joy comes in the morning. And now, as a preacher, I know that verse can mean anything because God is not subject to time. God is infinite. Time is just for us, right? So joy comes in the morning. What's your morning? It could be right now. It doesn't have to be a literal morning in the morning. It could be right now because God is not subject to time. Joy comes in the morning. It's whenever you get up and you fight for yourself. I wake up. I hear my mom waking up and I can hear her little fat feet just walking towards me. My mom looks like a penguin. She looks like Happy Feet. She goes to the door. I pretend to be asleep. There was this old lady there, an old lady. And true story, this is word is born, for real. Yo, this old lady tells my mom, she says, do you have your son living there? And my mom says, I got 2 sons. One of them is in Georgia, one of them is here. She said, the one that's here, can you give him this? And she put something in my mom's hands. She says, tell him we're from the church across the street. The one with the big rugged cross. And tell him we heard him. Nobody heard me. It was like 3 in the morning. Nobody heard me. Just hell and heaven. I think 1 Corinthians says we are a spectacle to angels and demons. Could it be my guardian angel? I think it was. At first I got mad. You know why? Because I always thought my guardian angel was kind of cock diesel, like Vin Diesel, you know, real big. But instead she looked like the old lady from Titanic. She leaves. My mom walks up to me, wakes me up. She says, William, despierta, then wake up. She said, there was this old lady. She gave me this. Remember the church that you were crying last night? The one with the cross? She gave you this. And I picked it up and it was a medallion. And I start crying, right? Because it's like God saying, I never left you, man. You left me. Prodigal son, come home. And this writer named Ellen White, she says, all heaven is waiting for the return of the prodigals. I start crying because you know what was on the medallion? A picture of Jesus with his arms stretched out, open wide, telling me, prodigal son, come home. I never left you, Papu. You left me. I felt far from God, but God was not the one that moved. I did. Then I got on my knees and I started crying and my mom is looking at me cry. And I said, God, I'm sorry. God, I'm sorry. I knew that I had to start over. I had to change. I knew if I could survive this, my mess could become my message, and my test could become my testimony, and my misery can turn into my ministry, and I knew my plane can turn into my platform. And I told God on my knees crying, I said, Jesus, I'm sorry, my bad. I don't want to die. I don't want to die no more. And literally, I heard Jesus say, you don't have to die. I already died for you.
Esta es mi vida, mi muerte y mi resurrección. Soy una bendición en vida, mi muerte y mi resurrección. Everybody, this is my life. Life, death, and resurrection. This is the story of my life. Life, death, and resurrection.
Llámame Lázaro, fui muerto, ahora vivo. Como cuando a Fiti le metieron 9 tiros. Soy bendecido, también y testifico. En los caseríos de Chicago y Puerto Rico. Yo soy de la jungla. Resucité de la tumba, Willy Ramos, predicador de los bundas. Si tú me vi ayer, tú no me reconoces, que somos pescador de hombres como los 12. Chacho papo, de la calle a los hospitales. Y eso que no te dije todos los detalles. Yo conozco a más norsas que criminales, con ella todos los días. Y con la policía parecía que yo vivía en una ambulancia. Ahora yo vivo una vida en abundancia. Other preachers, they go to seminaries. My higher learning came from the hood and cemeteries.
Life, death, and resurrection. This is the story of my life. Life, death, and resurrection. Esta es mi vida.
Te pregunta cómo es que sonrío. Al tú saber lo mucho que he sufrido, ven true Allah, déjame hablar, te explico. De solo pensarlo me río. Al recordar el día que probé del agua de aquel río de agua viva, manantial de salvación, la única solución que he encontrado en las dificultades. Sin importar la situación, descubrí que Jesucristo es la respuesta en las adversidades. Cause he's been there through the sorrows and pains. Through all the times they threw dirt on my name. Through all the struggles and attacks, and through all the times they wished that I would fall so they could talk behind my back. Yeah, I'm not perfect, pero aquí sigo luchando. Sigo de pie, paso a paso, avanzando. Recuerden, Cristo ya no hay condenación. Y si soy un muerto en vida, atento a mi resurrección.
A punto de tirar la toalla, en lo más profundo yo caí. Pero eso fue ayer. En el bajo mundo yo viví. Pero eso fue ayer. En el pasado ha quedado, porque ayer yo morí, pero hoy he resucitado. Esta es mi vida, mi muerte, y mi resurrección. Soy una bendición en vida, mi muerte, y mi resurrección. Everybody, this is my life. Life, death, and resurrection. This is the story of my life. Life, death, and resurrection. This is the story of my life. This is the story of my life. This is the story of my life. A punto de tirar la toalla. Eso fue ayer.